Parents come and say, "Wait, आप क्या कर रही हैं Miss Wajeeha? हमें बस grades चाहिए. We need those A stars. We need our kid to come first." You face
It's a parent's, I don't want to say job, but a job. There were parents that weren't excited about this. कि आप homework नहीं दे रहे, आप उस तरह पढ़ा नहीं रहे, आप उस तरह
Assalamualaikum everybody and welcome to Podcast with Ammi. Today we have another really special guest and I've been loving up sabka feedback on how useful these podcasts are in helping you understand different school systems and helping you understand education in Pakistan and beyond. So today we're going to talk about a system जिसकी हमने अभी तक नहीं बात की. The Pearson Edexcel system. And हमने अभी तक इसकी बात इसलिए नहीं की because we've not spoken to any school owners that run this system and execute it. So today we have Wajeeha Rauf of the Cornerstone School Systems. She's a director there. She's also the founder. I've seen her. I've been to her schools when she was setting them up and seen firsthand how fantastic these schools are. Welcome, Wajeeha.
Thank you so much.
I know Wajeeha's never done a podcast, so she's a little out of her element.
Yes, absolutely. But thank you for having me here.
Thank you. So Wajeeha, obviously Cornerstone अभी इतना mainstream में नहीं आया. So if you can start by telling us, कितनी Cornerstone की branches हैं, कहाँ हैं, कब बना?
Yeah, sure. So Cornerstone School started in 2015. I'll give you a little bit of a background.
So अभी 10 years आप लोगों के, oh wow, decades.
This year, yeah, mashallah. I had just moved from Canada to Pakistan in 2014 and we started talking about starting a school system. One really that I wanted for my children. So that's the heart and soul of Cornerstone
आप अपने बच्चों के साथ move हुई.
मैं अपने बच्चों के साथ move हुई.
And then also you come from an education family.
Yes.
I think University of Lahore is I think the parent company of
Yes.
Cornerstone.
So University of Lahore is the parent company founded by my father. I'm one of the founding members of the university. So we already had that, university education experience. And we started talking about, really wanting to have our own school system. One that we wanted to send our children to. We wanted a school that, develops the students' skills. उनके skills के ऊपर काम करते हैं, उनकी पूरी personality के ऊपर काम करते हैं, intellectual, mental, emotional, physical well-being के ऊपर काम करता है. So that was the idea behind Cornerstone School. And that's why it's so close to my heart because it really started from wanting to do something, for our children and for them, the community as well. So we started in 2015. We currently have 3 branches in Lahore. One is our main campus, what we call the PTCHS campus near Wajeeha town. The second one is in Pine Avenue.
Valencia
के बिल्कुल पास, हाँ जी, Pine Avenue पे. And then the third one is in New Lahore City, Zaitoon New Lahore City. So Wajeeha से about 4 kilometers आगे.
And do you plan to move to this side, like Gulbarg, Model Town, DHA?
Eventually, yes. When we first started, expansion wasn't on our horizon. We had one flagship campus and, and we were...
And खानदान के सारे बच्चे उधर जा रहे थे.
मेरे बच्चे भी वहीं पे पढ़े, भाई के बच्चे सब वहाँ पढ़ रहे थे. And we were, doing our thing really, because again, my focus, I was still working at the university at the time. So I was just managing this on the side, but then now, we are in the expansion phase. So we already have 3 branches in Lahore. We have one in Mangla. That's like a very small campus. We call the Lakeview campus. It's right on Mangla Lake. It's beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a very small campus. So expansion is on the horizon for sure.
That's amazing. So मुझे बताएं, obviously when you came back, there were hundreds of schools in Lahore. In fact, was there like somebody was telling me कि जिस तरह Starbucks mushroom करते हैं, in the United States, private schools are mushrooming in Pakistan because like chains that you've never heard of and independent schools and smaller setups and big setups, सब कुछ ही खुल रहा है. So why did you feel कि Cornerstone की need थी? Why couldn't you send them to why didn't you decide कि अपने बच्चों को पेरिया में, आप लोग पेरिया में रहते हैं ना, या उसके
I was living in Valencia at the time.
So उधर और भी तो schools थे, आप उधर भेजते?
उस वक्त and my children went to a very good school. Don't get me wrong. They started and the first year they were in another school doing well. I had some, I think, specific ideas. And what I was seeing in university also, this was really interesting. I was seeing the students were coming in with such high grades and they didn't quite have the skill behind it. So you had to really spoon feed them. You had to teach them everything. The self-learning, self-taught sort of skills were missing. So I think that was one area that we identified. Then also I wanted a school that does a lot more than just, for them to rote learn, memorize, repeat in exams and do that. I really wanted a school that took care of their emotional well-being as well, their physical well-being as well. So we put in a lot of initiatives such as a SIP Smart program, a Screen Smart
What's
program.
the SIP Smart?
A SIP Smart program is where we teach children how to choose healthy drinks. So it's something that is part of their health curriculum every year. They learn how to make healthy choices, how much sugar is in Coke, what alternate
And this
drinks.
is part of their
This
curriculum.
is part of their curriculum, yes. Screen Smart program that teaches them or helps them manage their screen time. So, how do you reduce your screen time? What sort of activities should you do? Then a Sun Smart program, so sun safety care out. So lots of those things were put into place.
And you guys came up with these programs on your own? Do these exist internationally?
I had seen these implemented in Canada. I had the privilege of working with the health authority in Canada, and these were programs that were being offered to schools there. So I was, so we brought the same sort of model here in Pakistan as well. So whatever I had learned, having lived in Canada for about 15 years, and how I saw, schools were being run and what schools were doing for children. So we tried to bring some of those things back as well. So ये सारे programs वहाँ पे थे और वो हमने फिर यहाँ पे लाए. But other than that, we started working on the leadership skills, for example. So we ran a program called Youth Engaged in Leadership and Learning.
YEL.
Yes.
I think जब मैं आई थी तो YEL था. So what is this, the YEL program?
So YEL program really is about enhancing a child's leadership abilities. Everybody has somewhat of a leader in them.
Yeah.
And जब हम leader की बात करते हैं तो leader खाली ये नहीं होता है कि वो एक team को खाली lead करता है. Leader is also a very good team player.
Yeah.
A leader knows how to work with team. A leader knows how to set objectives, set goals. Now these goals can be life goals as well, right? So we start teaching them in grade 6. We take our grade 6 and it's mandatory for everybody. It's a 6-week workshop that we run, YEL program. Aapne usme participate kiya. Then you saw how much fun it was,
Yeah.
and at the same time it was a team building exercise. And then after that we do a 6-week internship. So in the first term they do the YEL program, they go through the
An internship कहाँ होती है?
school के अंदर. So they choose within the school, they
Oh,
choose
in
different
library
departments.
में काम करना है,
Somebody wants to work with
canteen
me,
में काम करना है,
somebody wants to work with the vice
CEO,
principal.
okay.
We have a very strong special education needs program. So a lot
लेकिन
of
मुझे बताएं कि like all these programs sound fantastic, SIP Smart, Sun Smart, YEL, Screen Smart, I'm sure और भी होंगे. But the Pakistani parent, I feel, is still very grades driven,
Yes.
right? Like often when I saw this especially with, I think, the IB system. When the IB system started becoming popular, the biggest complaint that parents had was there's no homework coming home. Where are the books? ये क्या बात हुई? They're not books. And abhi bhi, like, people continue to switch from IB to O levels. And when I talk to those parents, because I run a podcast on education, so अक्सर बात होती है, they often say that we felt our child wasn't becoming a writer, wasn't becoming a reader, wasn't doing maths like on paper. Like उनके अभी भी ये बहुत genuine concerns हैं. So in your case, जब आपकी programs करती हैं, don't parents come and say कि भैया आप क्या कर रही हैं मिस वजीहा, हमें बस grades चाहिए, we need those A stars, we need our kid to come first. Do you face that?
Yes, all the time. Initially, though, a lot more. Because when we first started and we have a limited minimum homework policy, so no child is going home with a 3-hour homework. That's not happening. They have a homework schedule.
कितनी देर homework होता है?
30 minutes. And उसमें भी ज़्यादा छोटे बच्चे जो हैं उनके लिए we want them to do some reading, and then homework is supposed to be reinforcement. Homework is never
teaching.
You're never going to get, your child is never going to get a creative writing passage to be written at home, or new math sums to be taken care of by the parent or by the tutor. It's reinforcement. It's our job to teach them in the class. It's a parent's I don't want to say job, but a job responsibility to make sure that the child is just repeating them at home. It's reinforcement. They're doing some reading at home. We want them to go home and grab a book and read. We want parents to spend that kind of quality time with them. So yes, initially when we started doing this, there was a lot of pushback. We actually have a light backpack policy. So, I mean, if I'm walking around and I see a heavy backpack, that's not a good sight for me. Children shouldn't be carrying these like 20-kilo bags on their little body.
तो वो कहाँ रखते हैं?
वो स्कूल में रखते हैं. Starting from preschool.
घर पे बस वो books चलती हैं जिसका homework है.
जी, वो daily जो है, they take their books back, whatever they need to take. So the copies and the books जो reinforcement है. Weekend पे some parents obviously want more.
ये पूरा bag है.
Hanji, and we've had parents, initially we used to do this, that we gave the entire book set in the school and we were like, we're giving it to you, it's being kept here. And parents would buy 2 sets of books. They were like, no, हमें तो पूरा किताबों का set घर पे भी चाहिए. And we're like, it's not needed. So we've had some challenges, of course. And we've also changed some of our ways over the years, where we have kind of, also gone कि अच्छा चले आप
homework मिलेगा.
थोड़ा सा homework ज़्यादा मिल जाएगा, but then we have still stayed true to the philosophy that, the child is learning in the school. They go home, there is a lot more. There is the Qari Saab, there is the swimming lesson, there is the, they have to go for sports.
And a lot of kids who stay in joint family, the cousin time.
And then they still, sit with Dadi and learn something from her, and, or maybe they're going to be watching some TV, or they also still will be doing some reinforcement. So homework is not like where you go home and 3 hours of that. But we had parents who weren't happy about this, and they were like, to bachche to bahut khush hai. We used to say that children have to be happy in school also. That was a huge thing for me. That I used to absolutely love when in Canada my child started crying on the weekends saying, why is there no school? And I was like, what's wrong with you? Like, why aren't you happy that it's a day off? So, being that happy to go to school. And there were parents that weren't excited about this. Ki aap homework nahi de rahe, aap us tarah padha nahi rahe, aap us tarah, and then eventually they start to see that the child is learning and there is growth. And they are, it's a longer day in school. They're there till like 3 o'clock. And, so they are doing more work in school as well. And we are helping them. And so you can take a step back and just enjoy being a parent and not just a tutor all the time. So yes, but at the end of the day, our students have done remarkably well in IGCSE exams. So we had last year,
do you feel that this minimum homework, less stress is working out?
Yes, it is. And
Wajeeha, in your opinion, and then we'll come to the IGCSE, in your opinion, so I remember once the principal of HSN actually broke down how many hours a child should be studying at home. In your opinion, a child in like the early years, how much time should they be studying with the mom at home?
When they're that young, we
like 0 to grade 5.
Yeah, we say like 30 minutes to an hour.
That's the max that they should be doing.
And that should be enough, because they should be doing enough in school. So all the new concepts should be taught in school. They go home, it's 30 minutes to an hour.
So they do reading with their mom.
And then raat ko sote hue, grab a book, like bring those traditions back. That take a book to bed, read a book for half an hour. That's learning. You're learning vocabulary. You're learning, and that book doesn't even have to be a storybook. There's a lot of
picture book.
It can be a picture book. It can be a history book. It can be some fun facts books. I know my children used to love doing the Guinness Book of World Records.
That's
reading
a
those
fun
even.
Book. A bit middle school, like let's say grade 6 to 8, 9.
Yeah, that's where things start to get a little.
So how much should they be studying?
An hour and a half. More on the weekend. I'm not against children studying at home. I'm just against
the excessive
and getting this sort of work that really doesn't do too much for them. So a lot of repetition, a lot of work that's just in a way doesn't quite add to their skill. So आप बहुत ज़्यादा writing का आपने काम दे दिया है that I feel like that should be done in the school. Like the child is there from 7:45 to 3 o'clock. Right?
अच्छा आप लोग का school day थोड़ा लंबा है.
Start at 7:45, goes to 2:45 in our main campus, goes to 3:15 in our global campus. So this is a longer day. So इसके बाद जब बच्चा घर जा रहा है,
they need time to decompress and all.
Yeah, and then सबने लगा, कारी साहब ने भी आना है, फिर कोई tutor भी आ रहा है, फिर
अच्छा in senior classes में what do you guys recommend? 2 hours a day?
At least, yes. जब आप IGCSE में चले जाते हैं उसके बाद all bets are off. Then obviously you need to put in as much time as needed. It may be 2 hours on one day, it may be 4 hours on another, and obviously then you need to plan it. So we hope that we're teaching them those skills.
How to plan.
And they're planning, and even every day before they go home, they're planning their day out. So they're taking those books home with them. They've got their day planned. They know what they need. Yes.
Right.
And the idea is that they become independent learners. And they do that by actually starting in the class. So okay, here is your homework. What do you need to take home? And sort of planning it that way for them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And मुझे बताएं but I feel that Pakistan is not a society that even wants our kids to be independent learners, because if you look at an average kid's plan, and I'm not talking about like the super rich or anything, like an average kid, but literally the writer who comes to my, who does my work, and his salary is maybe like 30,000. He was telling me कि बाजी मैंने इस वक्त जाने मैंने बच्चों को academy से pick करना है.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are they even going to an academy? Because they go to school, like proper school. And he's like, नहीं academy का must है. So I guess those who can't afford it, वो अगर tutor घर नहीं आ रहा तो बच्चा tutor के पास जा रहा है. So this is rampant. And then almost everybody has a sports coach, or they're going to a sports academy, or there's a sports coach. Now debating coaches, now man coaches are in, writing coaches, then we have college counselors. And I know in my interactions with you, you guys are very anti all this, anti-tuition, anti all these coaches. And so, but I mean, why is this culture, was this so in Canada? Why is it so rampant? Either if our child is not minimum of 2-3 coaches नहीं है तो we're like यार कुछ गड़बड़ है. And literally committee parties compare होता है. My child doesn't just do football. He has a football coach, a taekwondo coach, a debating coach, an MUN coach. And you're like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm also a victim. My kids also have those coaches, but I know कि आप लोगों की philosophy is कि you know what is happening in Pakistan that we're desperate.
This was the biggest change that I saw. I remember like when I was in Canada and I used to see, year end pe people would put their children's results on. जब एक ज़माने में Facebook was the in thing, now तो outdated हो गया ना. But
Canada में भी लोग लगाते हैं.
यहाँ पाकिस्तान से लगाते थे लोग.
Yes.
And I would see everybody.
Canada में nobody does that.
नहीं, never. I mean, I don't think we even ever compared in amongst the class.
Pakistan में तो जैसी O-level results आए, it's all over.
O-levels तो ठीक था. I was
नहीं,
seeing
even
these
class
big
results.
movies.
Look, my son got all his
When my
stars.
children were young and my friends' children, and they were like, "Mashallah, my child has like 99%." And I was
And then they
thinking,
actually upload the entire report
Actually,
card.
and I was like, are there no average children anymore? I mean, we were average students, but are there no average students anymore? Because there are all these, everybody is all A stars and itne percent marks. I was like, what's going on, So when I came back, that was really something different for me to see after so many years. The sort of competition that was existing and the way it was being posted. And then all these tuitions, and I know it had started, late 90s maybe and early 2000s maybe, I mean, we're that old really. तो, शुरू हो गया था, पर अब तो ये था कि अगर 5 साल का बच्चा है उसका भी ट्यूटर आ रहा है, 8 साल का बच्चा है उसका भी ट्यूटर आ रहा है. So I was like, what is going on and why is that need there? So, if you really, one, you have this exam competition. So we don't have exams till grade 4.
Okay.
Right? So we have assessments. A lot of those assessments are unannounced assessments. So वो पूरा साल class में होती रहती हैं. So children are doing work at home, work in the school. So for example, the spelling list. I'll just give you an example. When they're little, so preschool, grade 1, 2, they've got the spelling list, right? Do you think what happens with the spelling list? This isn't given to the parent on day 1, on Monday, कि ये आपने तैयार किया.
हाँ, ऐसा ये नहीं होता.
नहीं, वो list लग जाती है.
ये इमला होगी, ये वर्ड याद कराएं,
ये याद
ये नहीं
कराना
होता.
और आपने याद कराना है, ये आपका काम नहीं है. वो बेसिकली इमला लिस्ट लग जाती है डायरी के अंदर, मगर वो पूरा वीक टीचर्स उसको क्लास में बच्चों को तैयार कराती हैं. एंड देन फ्राइडे को वो उसका इमला हो जाती है या स्पेलिंग टेस्ट हो जाता है. And parent के ऊपर ये burden नहीं जाता है. And a good thing of having all our kids in the school is I get to find out when the IMLA was not done in the class and was left to the parent, So our idea is that let us do this for you. We will teach the child in class. Of course, आप घर में बच्चा डायरी लाए, you can ask them and you can do reinforcement, but you don't really need to hire someone to teach them those words because that is the thing that is being taken care of in the school. Are we 100% perfect? No, but we're 100% committed and we keep improving as we see and we,
So is there a tuition culture in your school? Do you keep a check on it?
When it was a smaller school, yes, we would find out. And another thing that we have is very strict policy against our teachers doing tuitions to our own students. So boards are very strict about it. Our teachers are not allowed to offer tuitions to our students. We hear of every now and then some children that have kept tutors. Obviously we're not going to control them. It's,
But why is it that parents feel, why is it that parents aren't teaching their kids anymore? So like Rose now, I get requests in my Instagram, can you recommend a tutor for grade 2 जो घर आ जाए और सारे subjects कराए? Can you recommend a tutor? Like abhi there was this mother and she sent me like this desperate voice note. I can't tell you how desperate I am. Ayesha, my life is ending. The fantastic tutor I had for my grade 4-year-old it's पता नहीं moving countries. मैं तो desperate हूँ, find me somebody. And I was thinking to myself, पहली बात तो ये है कि grade 4 मतलब obviously all mothers थोड़ी बहुत तो पढ़ी लिखी है ना, इतनी तो है कि आपने O levels किया हुआ है, FSC किया हुआ है, चलें majority ने I believe bachelor's भी किया हुआ है, but नहीं किया हुआ O levels तो सबने किया हुआ है. Why do you need a tutor for grade 4? What? Why do you feel Canada में do the moms teach their kids?
Yeah.
So why is this happening?
I think it's I mean, I don't really want to, do any parent shaming at all. I understand all parents are doing the best that they can for their children. And if they feel that they can't take the time out, for example, if they're really busy, let's say if somebody has a really busy schedule, I don't know how you manage it. You're some super amazing mom. I don't know how you manage everything that you do. I've seen you in action, and even before this, you were trying to coordinate your your children's schedule and everything. So I feel that maybe sometimes their plates are full and they don't want to deal with it. I know that for one reason, where I would want to have somebody else is like I want to have a really good relationship with my children, and that has been told to us कि जी हमारे पास इतना कम time है. Let's say if both parents are full time working and they're coming home late and they have like 2 hours with their children,
so they don't want to spend
that to be quality time. They don't want this to be pado karo, so that could be it. And then also I feel like with the social media and with everything, our lives have just become so busy. So really, it's not against any parent. If this is what they've chosen for their child to do tuition. However, I feel that if the school is doing its job right, if the school is equipping your child with the necessary skills, if they are doing the planning right, for the younger years, you really shouldn't need to do tuition. If you can just sit with your child for 30 minutes, an hour, just supervise them. What I used to do when my children were young, they never did any studying in their rooms. Yes, granted,
they would sit on the dining table.
Granted, I had my own space, so I could do it. Not everybody has that. Okay, घर में बहुत सारे लोग हैं तो आप नहीं कर सकते. So when I would come home from work, I would be cooking in the kitchen, and they would be sitting, on the counter or the dining table.
So you can see what's happening.
And even now, though, this is what they're used to. So my 23-year-old still sits at the dining table. Abhi bhi, and he's on his own in Canada. And when I went to visit him, तो वो भी डाइनिंग टेबल पे ही बैठ के पा रहा है because this is just how so I was there walking around just checking and making sure do you need any help, looking at the books. Another thing that I found very different was some of the books that we have here, they come with a separate teacher's guide, right? So a lot of the series
in Pakistan,
and some of the international books, they come with the teacher's guide, so not a lot of information is there before for example in the math books. So let's say abacus math, the one that we follow also, is done slightly differently. And then उसके साथ एक पूरी teacher's guide होती है. So अगर एक parent है जो मेरे तरह भी, and they're looking at it, they might not know exactly how to teach that.
Or they might teach the child to use a different method.
Something different. And I have looked at it and I've had to understand it sometimes कि like अच्छा ये कैसे इन्होंने किया है, because I'm doing the multiplication the good old-fashioned way and they've done it differently, and I was like it's taken me a minute to understand. So again, nothing against any parent that chooses to do that. However, I feel that if the school works closely with the parents and the children, that for the younger years at least, they really shouldn't need to do tuition. And again, that was something that I was more like, क्यों आपको ज़रूरत ही नहीं होनी चाहिए कि हम आपके लिए अपना स्कूल से बच्चे को इतना तैयार करके भेजें कि आप उनके साथ थोड़ी देर बैठें, थोड़ी उनको सुपरवाइज कर लें बस, और वो फिर अपना काम करें. And if they're bringing work done that is not 100% accurate, it's not the end of the world. That's what the teacher is for, that they should look at it and they should help them and they should correct it. And beta, this is not done right, this is how it needs to be done, and do correction.
Absolutely.
So it's not the end, like, so that perfection that we're all aiming for, that comes with time. And you give children that time to learn, and they make mistakes. Another thing is कि वो जो 100% neat notebook होती है कि जिसमें कोई गलती ना हो. It's a fantasy. It shouldn't. It's okay if a child has made a mistake on a copy, on a notebook. It's okay if they didn't do the sum right. That is what they're supposed to be there in school for, अगर उसने 100% साफ सुथरा 100% काम करना है, अगर वो सबके सब उनको 100% आता है, तो स्कूल में क्यों थे, right? So once you accept this as a parent, then it's okay. Then you really feel that you don't need a tutor and the child can learn in school and you reinforce it. It's okay, they made mistakes, they didn't do 100% on the classwork or in the homework, no problem. That is where it's fixed, and you go from there. Yeah.
So when you were choosing a system for your school, right? I think the most popular systems even at that time and today also is the IGCSE or the Cambridge system for O levels. And then those are still like the University of London ka program ya Cambridge ka. But you went with a different program. You went with the Pearson Edexcel. So I think Pakistan mein like I only know of your school that's doing it from early years all the way up. Well, there might be others, but it's obviously not a very commonly used system. What made you choose the Pearson Edexcel?
Yeah, Pearson Edexcel is the, basically an official board. And
just like the University of Cambridge.
Yes, exactly.
But
and
why
in fact,
this?
Cambridge is private, and this is, this is the official board. So what I really liked about them, especially for their IAL, जो A levels hai, it's a modular system, and now they've also brought the modular system to the IGCSE as well. So let's say if there were 6 modules in the physics paper, right? So from P1 to P6 in A levels, if a child or if a student took 3 in the first year, they can take the 2 in the second year.
So they can break it up.
They can, yes. So let's say
आप Cambridge में ये नहीं कर सकते. You can't be like मैं physics का एक paper year 1 में दे दूँ.
AS के सारे papers देने हैं, फिर आपको A2 के सारे papers
अच्छा,
देने
so
हैं, आपको
Pearson
composite
gives
देना है.
you that.
Yes, so आप basically ये कर सकते थे बड़े आराम से.
मतलब like paper, it's like saying कि paper 1 of maths you give in year 1.
Yes.
And paper 2.
And that too also, you can choose to do, let's say P1 in January, and you do P2, P3 in June, May, June. And then you do your P4 in next year January.
And if you don't like your grade in P1, you can repeat.
You can just repeat P1. And so that I thought was a fabulous thing.
And like it's way less pressure on the
It's
kids.
way less pressure. At the same time, it's high quality curriculum. We have students who've done A levels with us and have gone to universities and have had first year credits for the subjects they did with us, so physics and chemistry and mathematics. So they got 100% credit. So basically, they literally the first year is at the university level. So we had the same thing for a lot of our students who have gone to Canada and for even in US. So so that it's a high degree, high level curriculum, high quality, and then it's modular. So that was one of the things. I really liked how...
So even at the O levels it's modular?
Now it's becoming modular.
अच्छा, अभी A levels
हाँ, अभी तो
है.
A levels है. फिर मुझे इसकी जो चीज़ बहुत अच्छी लगी थी, students were able to write in their own words. Students have, in fact, it's encouraged that it's their own ideas and instead of the whole class answering the same thing.
Like give me an example.
Like for example, if we prepared the whole class with a question and we gave them exactly the same wordings, it doesn't quite get them the same grade as it does if they were explaining things in their own words. So for example, a simple question, I know this always stood out to me, instead of a question from memory, more like how are lungs and trees similar? This is something really, so you actually have to draw on your knowledge and not your memory per se, not just what you've memorized or you've rote learned, but your understanding of the subject.
How well, yeah.
And then,
whereas I do feel at the University of Cambridge is a lot of regurgitation.
Yeah.
Like अभी भी उसमें questions हैं like define osmosis,
हाँ.
define diffusion, 2 number, ये 2 points लिखोगे तो 2 number.
हाँ, उसमें और थोड़ा सा ये हो गया कि
Label this.
it's become so mainstream also.
Yeah.
The issue with Edexcel, Pearson जो हमें आता है वो ये कि there aren't any academies, there aren't many.
So that's a
academies.
good thing.
That is
so
a good thing for
tutors
me.
नहीं हो सकते.
Yeah, that was a very good thing for me, for us when we were choosing this. But then again, there are parents who are like,
You get frustrated कि कोई है ही नहीं जो इसको पढ़ा सके.
So what we used to do, and people used to say, this एक तो आपने Edexcel रख लिया है, अब
हम tutor कहाँ से ढूंढें?
So what we do, and we still do this, we've been doing this for the last 10 years, is we run our own after-school program free of cost for our students.
So like
it's
a
not
tuition
something
system.
kanji. So it's not something
Within
that,
the school.
Yeah, not something we charge extra for. With parents that I know I've had to hire tutors for my children when they were out of my school and in the other systems, and it costs an arm and a leg. And so for us, yes, it's an extra cost, but we offer
For
this.
O levels and A levels.
Yes, so after school, starting October, classes start, and starting January, they're more intense. So after 2:45 up to 5 o'clock, on the weekends also. Now we have the online facility, पहले नहीं था तो
So जैसे स्कूल खत्म होता है the kids start their remedial.
and
कोई बीच में नहीं मिलती break.
थोड़ा break लेके, obviously when they're in senior years तो उनकी वैसे भी free periods भी होते हैं बीच में. It's not a full 6-7 hour school anyway. So उसके साथ, and then we starting January we hire other teachers other than our
Your own
yes. So these are teachers that are coming from other school systems and teaching IGCSE, Edexcel and other schools, and they come and they run the evening program. Uska fayda ye hota hai कि we also get to see, we get to compare, and they're the one that would come and point out आपके बच्चे को ये नहीं अभी cover हुआ था या ये रहता था, and so there's a check and balance in that. So last 3 months of school, that's really being efficiently.
So last ये October onwards
शुरू हो जाता है, लेकिन ज़्यादा intense हो जाता है with the external teachers starting January. So अभी हमारे सब जो core subjects जिनके बच्चों ने exams देने हैं उनके सबकी ये classes हो रही होती हैं. So that really helps and I think puts our parents mind at ease as well. I'm not saying that still some won't do tuitions, they will, and they can do whatever works for them. Again, all parents are trying to make the best decision for their children, but we try to support our parents at best as I can. And the one thing that what we did was हमने इसको एक तरह से समझ लिया, backward integrate किया. So IGCSE, so it was really logical to go back and start implementing the same curriculum.
The Pearson Edexcel. But how is it different from Cambridge? एक तो आपने बताया the modular system, which is fantastic, and then you've spoken a little bit about how the questions are more analytical. Curriculum वही है, more or less.
At par है. So sometimes one said in a friend's gathering, somebody said, "Oh, इसका मतलब ये मैंने सुना ये आसान है." I said, "ये नहीं है, that it's easy." It's not like the easier version or the diluted version of it. It's just equally, good in terms of quality. It's high quality education. It's excellent curriculum, at par if not better than Cambridge. So dono bilkul vengo barabar. And we do some subjects in Cambridge as well. So for example, our computers in Cambridge as well. So we are a Cambridge school as well. But then because we do Edexcel and Pearson from earlier, so that's why we call ourselves essentially a Pearson school.
And Edexcel is in which countries? Like it's not Cambridge is
everywhere. So starts from England, but then you'd find it in UAE as well. So a lot of schools in UAE, it's interesting. A lot of schools do a very nice blend. So they may be offering some subjects with Edexcel, some with Cambridge, some with AQA, and so
why?
Different, so they look at the curriculum from different boards, and so for example for us, like computers and other subjects that we are offering in Cambridge as well, so some that weren't
वो आपने Pearson में क्यों नहीं offer किए?
पहले वो ऑफर नहीं होता था Pearson में, अब हो रहा है, पर पहले उसमें हमारे पास सिर्फ ICT का ऑप्शन था, computers का ऑप्शन नहीं था. So जहाँ हम देख रहे हैं कि कोई subject
so Pearson probably offers fewer subjects than Cambridge.
Now they have expanded, but yes, पहले
like languages वगैरह है, French, German,
English है, Turkish है, they do offer. Yeah, so different languages are being offered. So now, I feel they're both comparable. So I don't want to, really put any system down. We do offer Cambridge as well, we do. But as a school, and then again, because we started Pearson now from prep, prep से ही Pearson लेके चलते हैं. So it's easier, yes. It's easier transition. प्रेप से शुरू हो जाता है हमारा, और आगे जाके आई प्राइमरी पूरा आता है grade 5 तक. उसके बाद आई लोअर सेकेंडरी शुरू हो जाता है. आई लोअर सेकेंडरी के बाद फिर IGCSE आता है.
तो इसकी बुक्स कैसे मिलती हैं? Do you have to get them from abroad? जैसे IB का मसला है,
हमें बुक्स
यहाँ पर नहीं मिलती,
हमें पोर्ट करनी पड़ती हैं बुक्स.
And then you give photocopies to your children?
No, we give.
So you buy the books.
Wow. And then
so each child gets those imported books.
Yes.
But do you take them back at the end of the school year?
So we did that for the first few years. जब स्पेशली हम स्कॉट फोर्समैन वगैरह की बुक्स लेते थे, तो तब हम ये करते थे कि बुक्स वर लेंट आउट. सो फॉर एग्जांपल आवर इंग्लिश, साइंस एंड मैथ, ये 3 बुक्स जो कि बहुत महंगी थी, तो हम ये इनको बेसिकली लाइब्रेरी से लोन करते थे बच्चों को, और फिर हम उनसे वापस ले लेते थे. But then again, obviously parents wanted the books and they wanted to keep the books. So now it's more on the other side that they buy the books. We've gone with, so we look at the curriculum. Some of the books are still being imported. There are other books that align with the curriculum because it's becoming more mainstream.
Yeah.
So we do, for example, Abacus Maths is easily available. So parents, can buy them from here as well. And then as a school, we do not force the parents to buy just books from us. So they have the option of buying books from anywhere. We don't even prescribe a vendor. We say, aapko jahan se milti hai book le lein. But what we've also done in the last couple of years is we've gone to a lot of digital sources for these books. So Pearson Edexcel has a fabulous digital library.
So it's kind of like the IB. IB ka bhi yahi hai, like a lot of digital resources.
Yes. So unka jo, for example, Active Learn ke upar, we've got a Bugs Club jiske andar like hundreds of books. Abacus Math, वो पूरे का पूरा online digital resource available है. Starting next year, we're going digital with our science curriculum as well and our history, geography. So
but is that a good idea? Because don't you feel that the act of reading and like writing with a pencil,
yeah,
obviously the development of cross motor skills and all, but also I just feel like कि जब मैं I tell my kids कि try writing it down, because I feel just the act of writing it down helps me develop muscle memory a lot better than just typing it out. And also like you kind of figure like it's just tangible, so आपको like समझ भी आ रहा होता है. You can go back. You can also do that on the computer, but I don't know. There is something for non-digital learning.
Yeah. So I am a big believer of that as well. And again, as a student, I just completed my PhD last year. I am still very, very old school. Like I
have notes.
I needed to print all the articles. Like I found that my younger classmates never printed it. Like I know my children never print anything, and they're just reading online. I needed to print it. I
highlight it.
Highlighter, hanji, my sticky notes
लगाए.
और वो लगा के पूरा side में पूरा column लगा के notes लिख के. That's how we were, trained. And up at this point in time in my life, even though I'm a student still, like I've completed it now, but as a lifelong learner, I still am using the same skills. But things have changed, and these children have adapted to learning in a different way. However, we don't do away with the notebooks. So again, सबसे बड़ा problem इस वक्त ये है with the way the dollar has gone, and so the books have become so expensive.
Yeah, you have no choice. या तो आप print करके पाकिस्तान में दे दो.
Parents के ऊपर इतना burden डालना, parent के ऊपर इतना कि आप इतनी महंगी किताबें खरीद, मतलब to me that just doesn't quite sit well with me. So I try to make their life easy. I can do it 100% of the time because those books sometimes we have to get. Then also, I do not want to promote piracy.
फोटोकॉपियर के पास
नहीं जी,
प्रिंट करा के रिंग बाइंड करा.
जी, मैं वो piracy भी encourage नहीं करना चाहती हूँ. So as a school, when we're giving the books, they're not pirated books, they're the actual original books. So it sometimes becomes difficult for parents. उसके digital version book का available होगा,
but कॉपियों में काम
और कॉपी में काम होगा, and उसके PCMs होंगे जो print होंगे, obviously वो print होके साथ बच्चों को मिलेंगे. So it's a full strategy. It's a hybrid and it's a full plan. It's not just something कि अच्छा अब सब कुछ on. Some assessments are going to be online, which is fabulous for some of us.
So Pearson की भी assessments online होती है कि नहीं? Those are paper assessments.
हाँ, अब उनके ये computerized exams पे Pearson Edexcel जा रहा है, और इस
but अभी तक क्या है?
अब तक तो paper exam था, अब तक तो 100% paper exam.
जैसा Cambridge है.
जी बिल्कुल. अब आगे जाके they are going to computerized exams as well. So I know that some schools are
similar to the IB. So the Pearson seems to be a hybrid between Cambridge and IB.
Yes, and so उसी तरह a lot of activity based, and also इनका जो earlier का curriculum भी है. So अब आपके पास बहुत सारे resources online हैं. आप वहाँ पे मतलब some of the assessments for early years are online, so they can go and do an activity. So for example, your grade 1 child can go and do an activity online and then do fun games. I mean, really, children love doing that. So it's like some frog hopping from one number to the other, and they've played a game, but in that you have tested their skill. So then the teacher sitting in the classroom or at home when she's looking at her, she gets a graph of how her children have done, how her students have done, and then over a period of 3 months, 4 months, it's automatically compiling their data for her, so she can actually see where she needs to go in and help a student. So वो सारा, so I think everything comes with its pros and cons. So yes, you're taking away the book traditional sense mein, but you still are supplementing, and then it has its own advantages as well in terms of assessments and helping the children. It's a fun experience with parents. So children are sitting with their parents and doing an activity on Active Learn, for example, on the portal. It's they're bonding also, but they're learning. So iske apne advantages hain, but then we're not taking away from the traditional learning. I'm still a big believer in that as well. I have had my children tell me, when I told them that unki writing bari kharab hai, so they were like, well, nobody's going to write very soon. I'm like, well, for the time being, you need to you still need to write. They're like, nobody writes, you can just type, but you still need to sign your name, you still need to write. So so we're still,
I agree.
And in this digital AI era, you still need to do
and also the gross motor development, the brain-hand connections, wo cheezein to aapko chahiye. So, but there's a lot of emphasis on nutrition in your schools, because I know you guys serve a hot lunch to every single child. and then आप लोग like the SIT program, and I think you also do breakfast. Or you like explain to me the food involvement at Cornerstone.
So at our global campus, we serve all meals as well. So we
So you serve breakfast?
2 meals, yes. So they get like a snack slash breakfast, which is like served around 10 o'clock.
Like fruit?
Fruit, pancakes, eggs, anda paratha.
And everything is cooked there?
Everything is cooked there in school. We're a zero junk food school, so there is no...
so all the kids are served this in their classrooms?
In their classroom.
And अगर वो ना खाएं या ना खाएं?
Initially ये था कि हम 100% compulsory करते थे कि आप यही lunch लें. But then obviously we had children with dietary restrictions, we had children with food allergies, or children that would just simply, I don't want to use the word, but where parents would say, वो कुछ नहीं खाता, वो बहुत फसी है, वो सिर्फ nuggets खाता है, आप उसको पराठा दे रहे हैं, वो नहीं खा रहा. So then we started to, again, we have had to adapt. My initial idea was that all children should be eating the same food, so it's about, again,
community.
It's community. It's you're eating as a community. You're trying out different foods. We've had parents come and tell us कि मेरा बच्चा तो सब्जी कभी नहीं खाता था, लेकिन उसने स्कूल में आपके साथ बच्चों के साथ बैठ के खाया भी है. But then you had some that were struggling as well. So we've become more flexible. So parents can give a home lunch as well if they opt out of school lunch, but it has to be a healthy lunch. It can't be a packed, pre-packed like chips and biscuits and
it can't.
Juices.
अगर वो होता है तो you guys don't let the child.
We then offer them something that is from the school, and we send them lunch bag with a sticker on it. Okay, please don't send it. We don't obviously want to upset children or parents, but we don't let the children go hungry. So it's not like.
But वो तो school में option है.
जो school में option है, so we.
So पहले इनको breakfast या 10 o'clock. They come at 8.
They come at 7:45 to 8:15 in different.
तो वो जो short break लोग कहते हैं.
जी, वो 15 मिनट का उसके अंदर एक.
And they served in the class.
जी,
so they sit and eat together.
Yes. Some older kids go to the cafeteria and they would go and they would sit and eat. The younger kids sit in the classrooms. They would get up, they would go wash their hands, they would come back, they would lay out their placemats, they would put their food on, the teacher would, do Bismillah with them, they would recite a poem or do a little activity, and then they would all eat together. And then the same activity is repeated for lunch. So lunches can be anything from, again, in a different varied times from 12 to like 1:30.
And उसमें कितना time मिलता है lunch में?
They have about 30 minutes.
So the short break is 15 minutes and the lunch is half. Lunch में क्या मिलता है?
Lunch में हर तरह की चीज मिलती है. So दाल चावल भी मिलेगा, बिरयानी भी होगी, burger भी होगा, pizza, shawarma,
And this is also hot lunch.
Yes, hot lunch. अगर कभी snacks में जैसे snack में कई दफा cold sandwiches वगैरह भी होते हैं. But mostly it's like lunch you would eat at home, really. My son and I used to say कि भिंडी क्यों आपने बनवाई है? So there would be भिंडी also one day, We used to make sure कि भिंडी के साथ पराठा हो क्योंकि बच्चे वो खा लेते हैं शौक से. And again, it could be chicken steak with mashed potatoes and steamed vegetables. It could be chane or naan, aloo tikki burger, all sorts of food.
And so you guys are serving like thousands of kids, because I think at one of your campus you have like.
Yeah, so the lunch is being served in the global campus now, the Pine Avenue, which is like more than 400 kids. The other campus, we used to do lunch for the longest time.
And उधर कितने बच्चे?
वहाँ पे अब about 1300 kids.
And उधर ऐसा अब आप नहीं कर रहे?
lunch नहीं serve कर रहे हैं. We're going to restart. We stopped actually COVID के time पे. Because वो बहुत ज़्यादा, how stressful it was.
Yeah.
So then उसके बाद we did start it there.
But why do you believe so strongly about food and nutrition being part of the school? Because a lot of your programs, like the Sip Smart and the No Junk Food and other programs, are also around food. And most schools are like, our job is to teach, and nutrition is obviously not technically school's job. But I know that Cornerstone is different because you guys are very big on कि हम provide करेंगे. What is the?
Okay, so इसके पीछे कुछ different ideas थे. एक तो healthy food is essential for children. If they're in school, they're progressing, they're studying. Now imagine a child comes and has a high sugary drink. And then
नाश्ता ही ना करे जो अक्सर.
अच्छा ये बहुत सारा मसला है कि बहुत सारे बच्चे सुबह उठ के नाश्ता करना ही नहीं चाहते. And they're coming to school.
And the parents allow them to come without.
And then they're having lunch at 12:30, 1 o'clock.
And some would have like a glass of milk and that's it.
Yeah, or something मीठा, biscuit खा लिए.
Commonly on scary. I mean, people are like, हमारा बच्चा तो नाश्ता नहीं करता. I was like, तो फिर आप करवाएं. Like for me, breakfast is a big deal in my house.
So children.
But this is very common. Yeah, they eat a biscuit on the way to school.
And again, I want to support all parents, and I want to say that you're doing your best, and I understand if your child is not eating. But then once they come to school and you've got, a child that's now hungry or that doesn't have the energy or has had a high sugar, I know बाहर तो वो मीठा सीरियल खा के बच्चे आ जाते थे, chocolate milk पी के आ जाते हैं बच्चे, तो बिल्कुल ही hyper हैं. So having a healthy snack at that point in time, sustains them.
That's true.
So
that's why you brought it in.
Yeah, so we brought it in. So if the children that were coming in hungry or they,
or hyper,
so a healthy snack then kind of calms things down, and then children still have the energy and they're active and sustain them till lunchtime.
And did you see a difference in your children
Absolutely.
when you began this?
Absolutely.
What kind
Absolutely
of differences?
We did. We had a lot of children that had a hard time switching to healthy food. So we had children that would, and it was
Not
heartbreaking.
eat.
No, they would start crying, and they were like, "मुझे तो Maggi noodles ही चाहिए थी, मुझे आप ये तो roti क्यों दे रहे हैं?" But then we saw them, doing better. We saw them, when they started eating, they were in a better mood. They are able to, how a lot of the times we feel that too. If you've had a very high sugar meal, then you have a crash after that.
Yes.
So you have children that start to fall asleep after like 12:31. They've had biscuits, they've had just French fries or biscuits or something like that for their lunch, because that's what they eat.
And they would fall asleep in the
classrooms. And then they're like getting sleepy, they don't have the same attention. So the school hours are somehow designed like that, कि पहले intense पढ़ाई सुबह में है, and then the later part of the school is more, other activities and sort of lighter art and music and those things. And part of the reason is that, so them eating a healthy lunch keeps them active throughout the day. We also saw students, started really eating things they didn't want to eat otherwise, they didn't eat at home, so becoming healthier that way. And then there is the daily physical activity with it. So, keeping them, I think a healthy body leading to a healthy mind, that's
you guys really implement
yes.
it.
And
is this also something you learned in Canada?
Yes.
How actually, food is a part of the school curriculum.
And again, I have to thank my children's school for that, because
they would get a breakfast.
They wouldn't, but they had a very strict guideline of the food they could bring to school. So, I could never just send cake or cupcakes or biscuits or anything. Like I could send crackers and cheese and fruit and homemade meals.
अच्छा उधर lunch नहीं देते थे?
नहीं lunch देते थे, लेकिन वो lunch हम खुद स्कूल नहीं देता था, हम खुद भेजते थे. लेकिन वो they would actually send a letter home saying give them the leftovers from last night. Why aren't you just sending them with the last night's leftovers? So if you had pasta at home or you had dal chawal at home, it doesn't matter. Whatever your cultural food was, send that, and they would have microwaves in the classroom. If your child was bringing a cold fridge ka lunch, they would put it in the fridge. They would warm it up and they would eat it. So I think I learned that there. And I saw.
But this is much better. Obviously, बच्चों को freshly prepared garam खाना मिल रहा है. Because one of the biggest issues with my children is that we are a very hot country. So even, I know especially with Sharan, even if I'm giving him something as simple as cut up strawberries and like थोड़ी सी cream like in a container, he would not eat them. He'd come back and be like, वो गरम हो गई थी, वो मच्छी हो गई थी, वो ये हो गया था. हाँ तो फिर आप yes, but अगर आप, it's not always possible. Yeah, if you give him like a toasted cheese sandwich, तो वो obviously 10-11 बजे तक toasted गरम नहीं. तो शरान को तो ये बहुत major issue है ना, कि नहीं, it wasn't this way and that way. So if there was this option,
I think
मतलब बिरयानी तो कभी भी नहीं ना भेज सकते कि वो गरम कैसे होएगी, फिर वो सर्व कैसे होएगी.
अभी यहाँ पे ये है कि we have some parents who like I think हमारी तरह से थोड़े ज़्यादा वो हैं कि they would send hot lunch, उस वक्त गरम गरम बिरयानी टाइम पे आती है, but very few parents can do it. There are amazing moms, I tell you.
No, but at my kids' school is not even allowed. You can't send food.
We absolutely allow.
So वो करीब रहते होंगे ना?
जहाँ वो करीब रहते हैं और हम उनको allow करते हैं कि आप भेज दें.
तो वो at the lunch time.
जी.
लेकिन isn't it better कि हर बच्चे को एक ही मिले? Why differentiate?
ये चीज़ पता है इसमें एक और ही बहुत.
Like I feel privilege पहले ही is a massive differentiator in
हमारे पास
Pakistan.
बहुत सारे बच्चे थे जो कि different background से आ रहे थे.
So अगर एक ही lunch मिले उससे बेहतर
we
क्या हो
have
सकता
children
है?
that were coming from very privileged backgrounds, but we also
So
had
उनके lunch
children
में sushi आती थी?
Well, we have, well हर तरह का, दूसरे बच्चे हमारे पास वो बच्चे भी हैं जो जिनको कि हम support कर रहे हैं पढ़ने के लिए. I have a large number of students that are on financial scholarships as well.
How do you decide किसको देनी है किसको नहीं? Is it based on the kid's ability or the parents?
The parents.
So any parent who comes to you, or like how?
If I'm giving the admission to the child and if we see that the parent is not able to, then we do support. So we have a large number of students.
But like there must be a limit to how much you can support.
Yeah.
So how do you figure out who needs your support more?
So we have a process. जिसके अंदर parents can apply, and it's a, we look at their, let's say, their utility bills and so on and so forth.
But do you pay full financially, or the parents still have to pay?
They still have to pay. We do have some children with us that, for example, we have a family that the father passed away, the mother is not, also in the picture, so they are 100% supported by us.
But that's rare.
Those are a few kids. We have some, my father passed away a few months ago, so we have just recently offered an Ayesha Rauf scholarship on which we have taken children and who be ज़्यादा उसमें orphans हैं बच्चे जिनके father passed away, 100% being supported by us. उनकी books, uniforms also are being supported by us. So ऐसे भी हैं, but then also 25% or 50% scholarships and so on. And then you would have this child that just does not have the ability to bring the same kind of lunch. The other child has these delicious nuggets, and and this other child doesn't. So मेरे लिए equality was also very important. कि बच्चों में difference नहीं होना चाहिए. That's why we give our own stationery also. So we tell the parents,
and your own bags?
No, not the backpacks, but
stationery boxes.
Colors, बच्चे के पास क्या? So classroom में shared colors हैं सब बच्चों के पास. Pencils are identical, erasers are identical.
Because आप लोग दे रहे हो.
हम दे रहे हैं. और वो
no fancy smiggle pencils.
नहीं, because this is why, and that is for the school.
So would the next step be कि bags भी आप लोग दो?
Bags के लिए मुझे थोड़ा सा लगता है कि जब commercial होने लगती है चीज, because pencils are not charging extra. वो bags मुझे लगता है कि, and वो perception ये जाती है कि शायद हम इसलिए करेंगे, want to make money from it. So our children have smaller bags because they don't really need a lot of. So sometimes some parents, when they come new, तो वो trolley bags होते हैं, but they realize that they don't need those big bags anymore. So bags we don't give, but the stationery that is being used in the classroom is given by us, and it's literally on every table. So they have their pencils that have got their little number or name at the back, and they can just use that. So the idea was that, how it is that this child has a really fancy pencil case, and this child has a beautiful 64 color pack, and this child has like the basic so वो थोड़ा सा to create that equality.
Nice, yeah.
The same idea was behind the lunch as well, although we moved away from it for our main campus because of COVID के बाद, and we didn't restart it. We've been planning to do it, maybe next year we will. But that I thought was a huge thing.
Yeah, I agree.
कि आपके साथ जो भी, you just cannot tell. You go into the school, you can't
tell what the final. And that's the logic behind the uniforms.
Yeah, uniforms also.
So we're running out of time, but I really wanted to touch on your special needs program, because I know that your program is like I know a lot of schools say we're inclusive, but you guys are actually inclusive because your special needs program is quite big, and is like I remember seeing like every floor has special rooms, and so walk us through the program.
So that is my pride and joy. I have to say this. Our special education needs program is what is my favorite thing that we've done with the school. We are a fully inclusive school, and when I say that, I literally say that with a lot of pride and a lot of confidence. So we are open to children, all with neurodiversities. We have children with autism, with Down syndrome, with ADHD, with cerebral palsy, with hearing issues, all sorts of, no child is turned away just because they are not fitting into that 4x4 box of what a child should be able to do. In our global campus, we have right now nearly a quarter of our student population is special education.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And again, we're a fully inclusive school in that we make IEPs for every child, and that's
based on their abilities.
Yes, every child is assessed. We spend 5 days with them in assessing them. Then a team of our specialists, this is our RBTs, जो behavior therapists हैं, उसके साथ a clinical psychologist, a speech therapist, occupational therapist, physiotherapist, ये सब मिलके उस बच्चे के लिए पूरा plan बनाते हैं of whatever they may need, what sort of support they may need. We have special rooms where some children that are not able to function in the mainstream, they would be sitting and working. There are other children that are going into what we call the resource room, which is the classroom level 1, where they go in and sit sort of in a classroom, still working one-on-one. Then there are other children that go from these rooms to mainstream classrooms for certain subjects, come out for the other ones. And then there are others that are sitting in mainstream classrooms with or without their shadow teachers. So there are all the different levels. Every child has the program that is customized for them, And so right now, and again, it's one-on-one. So if I've got like 100 children, imagine that there's like a staff of 110, 15, because हर बच्चे के साथ उसका therapist है.
Wow. Every single
Yes,
child. So
every
it's
child has
one-on-one.
one-on-one.
So you
They
guys
have-
must be charging a lot.
It is more than, obviously we charge a fee for special education.
But that is a
program.
fantastic
Yeah.
ratio.
Yeah, it
And
is.
I think your special needs children also have a full day.
They do.
So
they do.
इनका खाना separate बनता है कि
नहीं,
they
इनका अगर किसी बच्चे का कोई dietary issue है तो
Yeah, what
obviously
about
then
the
we-
fact, you know, they say कि for autism give them less sugar. But I guess that's
sugar तो
true
हम देते ही
across
नहीं हैं.
your.
Sugar तो you know बहुत
Okay.
अगर sugar दे रहे हैं
Yeah, gluten free
So-
so that the parents have to
so
pay.
yes, they have to. We do have options. We do
Okay.
have, like, for example, we have vegetarian options. So for
Okay.
children who are not taking meat, or you know, if they're not taking gluten, उसमें हम encourage करते हैं if there are allergies that the parents are bringing their own food. Sugar का level ये है कि pancake के साथ अगर कभी आए तो उसके साथ honey होएगा, थोड़ा सा bananas होंगे. You're never gonna get the sugar syrup.
Maple
and
syrup.
हाँ, नहीं, नहीं.
And tell
कभी
me
का-
about one of the miracle stories you were telling me.
Yes, so we've had, you know, I think the biggest joy we get is from when we see our special education needs program children
Integrated
moving,
into the
integrating
curriculum.
into mainstream. And you would see, when you've come to the school also, you would see them participating in music. You'll
Yeah,
see them, you'll see them,
drama,
and you know, if students are coming up, sports may be graduation pay, they would come in and say, you know, 2 lines, and that's fine. They would come and represent. You would see them, you would not see them excluded anywhere. कि अच्छा sports है तो ये बच्चे एक कमरे में बैठे हुए हैं, या कोई event हो रहा है, आपका 14th August का event है. We've had children come to the stage, sing, all of that. But we've had children that have taken ITCSE exams and have done, you
But
know,
वो
considerably
miracle तो
well.
बताएं.
हाँ, जो हमारे वो मैं आपको पहले से कह रही थी, one of our students who was with us for 2 years.
With
you know,
autism.
With autism, with moderate autism, and I just got, you know, found out about 6 months ago, his grandmother who came to us, and she told us that he has now qualified and is studying in HSM.
Which is fantastic.
Which is
because
amazing,
the
which is not easy.
No, and
No.
even for neurotypical kids,
Yes,
it's so
it's
hard
not
because
easy.
the exam is so tough.
Because they-
and HSN gives you no allowances.
Yeah.
It's not just the exam
No,
easy. Wow.
no. And the child, you know, that child obviously, you know, had his own set of abilities and
But
was
that's
brilliant.
so great.
And we needed to help him, you know, adjust in the
In the
mainstream class. So
areas,
for
yeah.
example, you know, didn't have on-seat behavior, you know, had a hard time sitting and following instructions or making eye contact. And just, you know, we worked for 2 years on those things, and mashallah, you know, again, so there are
Fantastic.
children like that have come to us and have then either, even with us, moved to mainstream, or have gone, you know, have gone abroad, have done well. So, and again, I still go back to the first child, and I don't know if they'll ever hear this, but it started with one family coming to us when we first started, and them asking कि मेरे हमारी ये बच्ची है, and they and wasn't fitting in because intellectually
10 years
she was
ago
fitting-
she came.
हाँ, and she was fitting in prep में बैठ रही थी, but she was a grade 4 child, and I just said to the parent, I said, yeah, I want to help you, I don't know how to, I'm going to try my best. And then that one child started this, you know, movement. So we've had our autism center, which is now turned
Yeah.
into a special education needs program. We have trained, I tell you, hundreds of therapists, hundreds
Yeah.
of people. I can
Just
confidently
the
say,
size of your setup for
Ah.
special needs is unbelievable.
yeah, and I can confidently say a lot of setups that are being run in Lahore, literally so many of people, them have, you know, come
Therapists
either
from
Cornerstone School
Cornerstone.
or from Roots and Wings Autism Center.
Yeah.
That was also part of Cornerstone School. Now we have
Is
merged
it
with
integrated?
हाँ, 100% now, because we're not just working with autism. वो थोड़ा specific.
You're working with
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
That's so
And again, we all know somebody, you know,
Yeah.
my own nephew, you
Yes.
know, has autism. So this comes from our hearts, and this is the one program that gives me the most joy.
That's so
Yeah,
great.
alhamdulillah.
And I think the neurotypical children benefit just as much
Yes.
from being around because these neurodiversity is now a part and parcel
Yeah.
of our system.
And you know, it teaches them how to be better humans.
yes,
You see,
yes.
bullying इतनी कम होने की वजह हमारे स्कूल में सबसे बड़ी है, that they are exposed to this, you know, that they're exposed to children that may be different,
Yes.
but they are
Are no
not
less.
less by
I know,
anybody,
this
you know,
is
by
so
any
great.
means. They are brilliant in their own ways. We have some brilliant artists. We have one child that I think is going to make a fabulous YouTuber one day, you know. So we have some children that are excellent with computers,
That's
and
nice, yeah.
fabulous families
it's
and
so
children.
great
So
that these
yes.
parents now have a place to.
Yes, and so, you know, and that again, that's something that comes from our hearts. So we try to really put it all out there for our special
That's so
education needs
great.
program. Yeah.
Well, Wajeeha, thank you so much. It was so good to hear about. I didn't know all this about the Pearson Edexcel that I've learned, and there's so much more that I've learned today. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. This was again the first time I've ever done this.
Yes, but not too bad.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And to everybody who's watching, do share your comments, your feedback. We will definitely pass your questions on to Wajeeha, and I'll tag a Cornerstone, so if you have further questions, you can reach out to them. Thank you for watching.